Hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 176. Sorry, my mic was a little far away, so if I got closer to you, that's why. It's the microphone. This is the Independent Musician's Guide to Production and Promotion, and today we're going to be talking a new challenger in the sampler world, and then in the round robin, we're talking happy accidents in creative expression. Now, I've got some echo coming. What was that? Was that somebody watching something?
That was me flicking across the video for the new
There we go.
new
No
song.
worries. Just making sure. My name is Sunwarper, and with me today is, let's start with Curtis because we started already. How's it going, man?
It's good. It's in the name of stepping away from things, I've just been trying to put one foot in front of the other and not concern myself too much with what may or may not be, and just be what is here right now. That's kind of where I've been at.
Just be here now, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
As our good friend Ram Dass would say.
Yep.
I haven't done any production this week. I tell a lie. I've obviously been teaching, but it's been mainly about this guy here, and it's been about mashing tracks together and listening and learning to piece together DJ sets and stuff like that, which has been consistently in the periphery of my radar. And I'm trying to take it a bit more seriously as summer has come to an end. I'm thinking about next summer. I'm thinking about gigs in next summer. So I've been trying to learn, listen, especially when Serato got their new kind of like stem separation. What you can do with DJs and tracks and stuff like that. You can do really cool mashups. So yeah, that's been my week essentially.
And are you thinking all DJ gigs next summer? Not trying to do any like Curtis live performance?
Think about right now. I'm thinking because I'm focusing around psytrance, right? And it's there's more. I suppose there's more of a market, quote unquote, for a psytrance set than there is for a kind of a Curtis set. And so I'm working up to it. So in short, yes, I'm thinking about where I can branch out and where I can find some more explorative avenues that don't necessarily link to the electronica that I make at home.
So you can just weave in some Curtis remixes. I know that goes against exactly what you just said at the end there, but I had it in my head from before you said it. You know what? I still wanted to say it. Just weave in some new drums over some of your tracks. You know.
Well, that's a really interesting thing. There's some really interesting controllers out there in the DJ world where you can just, with stem separation, you can automatically remove drums and replace them with something else.
Another track's drums, just put it on, and then it could be like a probably 16-minute continuous thing of your song into the next song.
Completely. So I'm just kind of like, I'm working with that and trying to kind of build that kind of world. It's an interesting place. It's an interesting place to be because for the first time in a while, I haven't felt pressure to make anything. I haven't felt pressure to kind of produce, or my SP has been sitting. Well, my SP was sitting on this laptop stand. It's been sitting there for about 7 days now. Haven't touched it, and for the first time in a while, I am. Pat noticed it.
They're actually all set. Well, mine's set to what it should actually look like, but I think the other two are mirrored. But yeah,
no, you are mirrored. You are definitely mirrored.
Okay.
Yeah. We're all mirrored. Anyway.
But that's to your illusion, but this is what it should actually look like. In the real world, this is what it actually is. I know it's mirrored. I'm saying this is set to what it reflects the real
your
world.
Reality, which is mental because for the last kind of 5 years or so, I mean, you moved into that, 3 years ago into that shed?
2020.
Oh, has it been 5 years in that shed?
No, wait. Yeah, 2020. Yeah.
5. Okay, so 5 years in that shed. And then it's only kind of really.
I've been playing the long game, man.
You have.
Messing with your mind.
Yeah. And now my entire reality is just one massive.
Leon couldn't handle it. He flipped it.
Exactly. So yeah, that's where we're at. That's where I'm at. Where are you at?
Working on the next album, the Detour album, the all ambient one. So it's really coming along because it's been really fun. I set these little limitations, like, okay, I'm gonna make an idea in 20 minutes, right? Just like a 8-bar loop that I just build a ton of different things like layers on, and then later I'll take another 20 minutes, sequence it out, and then another 20 minutes another day, you know, do that. And all I've been doing is just like experimenting. Like I'll do all of the songs are in weird time signatures, 7/4, 9/8, like all that stuff, and just working on like how those time signatures can kind of mess with your, kind of like what we're doing with these mirrors of the cameras, but like mess with your expectations of when things are going to resolve, where they're going to resolve to, the like changing, using major and minor, and borrowing. And it's just been a lot of fun doing that. I think it's 8 or 9 tracks, and it all kind of pieced together. Unfortunately, the 8-minute track we discussed last week is going to go on the next album, because it just doesn't match. It's got too much like drums and stuff like that. So
do an ambient mix.
I don't know if it'll work. When you hear it, you'll see. It's very ambient until it's not, and I'm like, it just doesn't. The story I'm trying to tell in that first album, it doesn't. It's like it doesn't work with it, but it does fit perfectly in the second one.
Well, it's good to have things lined up and ready to go, right? Trying to think about a few more than the next release ahead. That's a good place to be.
Yeah, and I mean, what's weird to me is it's kind of like the artistic worry, because this one's all ambient, right? The next one's going to be like vocals and drums, and it's like, how do you blend it and tie it together? And I think it's thematically tied together, but it's like, I don't know, it's a bit of a weird. It's all my own, just like worry. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, and I realize that. But that's just in my head, thinking like, well, how am I gonna tie them together in some sort of way, because they are connected.
Would you say you're overthinking it?
Oh, I am, for sure. But I want to make sure there's this thematic tie. Like the last song ties into the first song in a way.
Well, I mean, that's always been a beauty of the work that you do. Like Future Fade is, you know, the reprisal, for example, towards the end of Future Fade. It's something you've always kind of kept strong throughout all your releases. So that makes sense.
Yeah, I always like to think about that, because these two are basically like two sides of the same coin, just like very different. So, yeah.
Fair play. Fair play. Yeah, there are 3 of us in the room for people listening. Eon Lake, where are you at, man? How are you?
Hello. I'm all right, thanks. Yeah. I haven't been doing much this week. I've been updating stuff. So I did Ableton, as you know. Updated the sound, the drivers on my mixer, which is a bit scary. Yeah. I hoped it would give me a little bit more stability with the audio-video bridging. What it seems to have done is cut 64 channels down to 32 channels.
Oh, that
doesn't seem fun. That doesn't seem fun at all.
But I'm not sure that those 64 would have worked anyway, because I mean it's a 32 input mixer. So I don't know what it was going to do with the additional ones, and I'm only using 26 of them.
Okay. Only.
So yeah, I think it's all right. Yeah, I'm hoping it'll be a bit more stable, and I'll be not faffing around with it before we go live quite as much.
Are you using okay, so if it's a 32 input but it's a 64, is it a MADI card?
No, it's just native audio video bridging over Ethernet.
Oh, okay.
It's a straight AVB, and it's supported natively on a Mac. So that's my no drivers required solution, right?
I have a long history with this.
So my mixer doesn't go obsolete when the USB drivers aren't being updated anymore.
So how does it feel being in a space where how does it feel being in a kind of like a booting and a loading mode where you're kind of upgrading everything?
When it's flashing the ROM and stuff. Yeah, it's scary. But hopefully all this stuff will work. I've been upgrading everything. Did my KO2 as well. I didn't realize I've been trying to do stuff on it, and the keys, the menu options aren't there. And
was that the big update from a couple months back? You didn't have it?
It wasn't on the version I thought it was. That's why those menu things weren't there. So I'm trying to assign MIDI channels, and it's not letting me. It'll only let me do individual sounds. I thought, it can't be this rubbish. And it isn't. So that's good too. But yeah, it's progress.
There you go.
Sometimes you've got to just hunker down in the bunker and just kind of make sure everything's in.
I don't do it often. I updated Sound Toys as well. I got the new plugins and upgraded all of that.
That reverb, what is it called? Space Blender? Was that the one that came out a couple months ago?
Yeah.
That thing's crazy. I
And a
like
big
that.
version of Little Plate.
Yeah, I don't have the big boy version of Little
It's got
Plate.
some
I
great
just have Little
filters
Plate.
on the output and stuff. It's got some nice and
What
different
is the
as
full
well.
one called?
I can't remember, and it's not on this machine.
Not so Little Plate.
Super Plate, I think.
Super.
Cool. Okay.
But yeah, Space
Sounds
Blender.
great.
That thing's awesome.
Yep, that sounds good too.
Yeah,
So,
I did a lot of what you talked about in your demo, Curtis, from a few months back.
Months
I
ago
want to
now,
say.
yeah. Months
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, I've been using a lot of that on the vocals for the second album.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And does it work? And so not Valhalla. You've been using Space Blender.
Well, Valhalla's all over this first album, so I was like, I need to do a little bit of variation here for the second one. So, yeah.
Okay. I'll have to see how it pans out. Maybe we can do a reverb kind of throwdown.
Shoot out.
Yeah. See where it's at.
Super massive versus Space Blender. Yeah.
I like that.
Well, I think they serve different purposes. Like using both of them more now, they definitely they can do similar things, but I think they serve different purposes.
Maybe we should have a little bit of a segment on a shootout, as you would say, and see like stock versus Valhalla versus Space Blender versus what's the one from Baby Audio that you like, Eon? Like
what reverb?
Yeah,
I think it's called Crystallizer.
Crystallizer.
Crystalline, that's the one.
Crystalline. Maybe do a shootout and just take something random.
Well,
like
isn't Crystallizer a Sound Toys one, right?
Crystalline is Baby
Crystalline,
Audio
sorry.
reverb. Yeah, it's a weird one in that it sounds quite natural. It's really easy to get a good sound out of. Whereas I find with reverbs sometimes they just sound horrible no matter what you do with them. Some of them.
How can you say that? How can you say that?
Back in the day, I used to hate those AMS reverbs that everyone else used to love, and you didn't find a studio without one. And I've never liked that algorithm. I always thought it sounded like grainy cack.
So is your personal hell like a mixing session that's just those reverbs?
I don't know. I just thought it was just me. I thought it was just
Those reverbs at an MPC. That's your personal hell.
there must be something wrong with me. These sounds that everybody loves, I don't like the sound of. But horses for courses and all that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that breeds an interesting question, doesn't it? Like, I mean, what is it that everyone likes, and what is it that kind of do we like what we like because we like it, or do we like what we like because we're told to like it and marketing?
I don't know. I mean,
Condition.
spring reverb's another good example. I'm not a big fan of spring reverbs. I mean, unless you're doing some real heavy dub stuff where it's part of the sound, But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of springy reverbs. I'm quite particular about them. They need to sound a certain way if I'm going to use them.
You're a fascinating man, Eon Lake.
I know. People, when I tell them about my reverb preferences, people just, they're mesmerized.
If they weren't already lost from you talking about production stuff, when you start talking about your reverb preferences, you lose them. That's when you lose them.
No, I mean, they're either absolutely fascinated or they're brain melted. They're one of the two. It's got to be fascinated, right?
It's the absolute extremes of everything. It can't be anything else. It's either horrified or amazed. It can't be anything else in between.
Or both.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Why
Just
not?
when my brain leaks out my ears, I'm going to be horrified for a split second.
Well, maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe we need to just kind of put everything in line and just see why we like I mean, we are very niche and we are very nerdy. Let's face it. If you hadn't guessed, I think it's good to admit that on our 5-year anniversary.
Yeah. Until we get the t-shirts done.
Yeah.
It only took 5 years, but
Only took
Warning.
getting it is the first step, I guess, of this.
If we just acknowledge it and we just sit and we just spend an entire hour going through different types of reverbs and what we like and what we don't like, because that's great entertainment,
Yeah. I was with you up to the end there.
All right. Well, before we lose all of our viewers over this reverb talk, though it seems like everybody's into it, actually. because we'll get into the comments. Let me get to the comments. We've got M-Fizz here. What's going on, M-Fizz? They say hi. Pat Brady also says hi. What's going on? And yes, Pat did notice the mirroring. So very astute observations there. Good job.
I'm back.
Mike says dinner plate. I guess, yeah, for little plates, bigger.
I nearly said that
version. Yeah, well, you did say soup plate.
Super plate, yeah.
And then Pat also added tectonic plate.
Oh,
that's good. That's a good bet. They missed a beat on that one, yeah. Also, Cresshead's in the chat. What's going on? Cresshead says where is it? Just pressed go. This is exciting on CD production. Small run, 52 CDs at a UK duplication place. Nice. They also add autumn reverbs are way better. So there we go.
Okay. That's interesting.
Autumn reverb. What's an autumn reverb?
I don't know. So maybe that's a spell check thing, or we're just, even though we've just talked about reverb for like 10 minutes, we're that out of the know, I guess.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe this sound is like bouncing off falling leaves or something.
Yeah, maybe it's the impulse response of autumn leaves falling. You get the reverb of it.
I can imagine that being quite grand here and quite beautiful, actually.
I could see you liking that. Yeah,
I can get on board with that.
I could see that.
Yeah,
see that. But yeah, Chris said, either enlighten us, please, or let us know what spell check got you with. But
it's not a spring or summer. How did we miss that?
We're tired. That's why.
How did we miss that?
I forgot that Eon Lake just went on a spring reverb tangent, so I guess that's why.
There we go. We're here.
Let me just share that to the screen for that. And then Curtis, if you don't mind reading it for those that are listening on Apple and Spotify, please. What was Cresshead discussing there?
It's saying that it's not a spring or a summer reverb. It's
I don't have a real drum set, but I go
very good.
My electric kit's
who said we're nerds? That's just unfair, isn't it?
That went well above us in terms of nerddom. So way to go, Cresshead. We thought we were being nerds. You beat us.
I look forward to Cresshead's new podcast starting next week on Wednesday at UTC. I can't wait. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, maybe Autumn Reverbs is their podcast. I still stand by that. The impulse response of the leaves falling. That could be really cool. Yeah, that could be our true autumn reverb.
I would have that. I would have that down to a grain. I'll have to see how that goes down.
Speaking of grain, you could do granular sampling of it too. Then
you could. That would be nice.
And that is a perfect segue, kind of, to what we're talking about, because we're talking about samplers. Now, I don't know if this has granular sampling. It sounds like it doesn't. But, Curtis, enlighten us, please. What are we talking about today?
Well, this is they're calling it the it's German, I suppose. So it's the Wunderkammer WoO.1 sampler.
Yeah.
Which looks pretty cool. I'm just going to share the screen that I've got here. We've been kind of discussing this, and it's this new little sampler on the block. It came out a few weeks ago, but they've really started ramping up a campaign for it. Let me bring it here so you can see. And yeah, this is a new little kind of sampler that has kind of come through. It's a Kickstarter right now, going on at $300 US right now. Usually they say, where are we? Usually $429, so for $130 cheaper, which it's not an insignificant amount. But yeah, it's similar size to that Yamaha one that you have.
A seat track.
A seat track, yeah.
Yeah,
similar
it's charging. I got to take it for some lessons today, but I would share it had I had it.
Yeah, so it's similar size, fits in your pocket. They have a whole thing about it being portable and fitting in your pocket, and all.
That's very, very big right now on YouTube searches. The portable.
Absolutely, and so.
And I get it. Like, I don't blame anyone for. It's really cool to have portable samplers.
Oh, completely. It's nice to have.
Curtis, can you just keep your mic a little closer to you, because when you look at your screen, it's getting real faint. If you don't mind, please.
There we go. If I can do that, how's that? Is that better?
That is much better.
There we go.
Starting to sound like Eon Lake now.
I mean, it's the dream, right? It's the dream. So basically they're saying that it's based on a Casio SK1 sampler on steroids. That's what they say. Now, we don't condone steroid use. We prefer to keep our samplers working in a healthy environment where everyone.
Creatine's all right, but not steroids.
Sure. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Whey protein.
But it's a handheld sampler device with an unlimited track looper. So you can layer unlimited tracks with different sounds on top of that, which is pretty cool. Obviously, a save function, dynamic effects on it with a function knob to undo support, one touch undo. With resampling support, single track mixing, one touch sampling, resampling support, and remixing instrument sense. So this little box is kind of built for what seems to be some form of live looping, live performance, and live kind of creation on the fly, without much. More for the performative than it is for the productive or the production.
Quick question before you get into all the specs and stuff, if you know, I'm curious. You mentioned how it looks similar to the Seek Track and all that, and I'm just curious. Does it have a speaker?
Yes. Well, I think so.
Okay.
That one, I don't know. That is a very good question. That's something that I didn't actually pick up thinking about it when I was reading about it this morning.
No, I mean, I wouldn't expect you to, just coming from the Seek Track thing. Because like things like the P6, right? Talking about how portable samplers are on the rise, right? Like the P6 would do well, even if it wasn't that great of a speaker. Like the one on the Yamaha is not the most amazing. It would be nice for these little portable ones that do fit in your pocket, right? To have a speaker. Like even the PO33 has a little speaker. And so it's always cool when it does have some kind of speaker. Yeah, headphones are obviously better and all that, but you never know. Sometimes it's just nice to have the option.
Question. All right, I hear that, and you know it is nice to have the option. Have you ever used the speaker though?
All the time.
What do you use it for?
Making music.
No.
Crazy.
I know that's a novel concept for you, Curtis, in this
You're
DJ.
the
Yes, you can use a speaker on a sampler to make music, my friend.
You can. I'm totally with you. I suppose what I'm coming from is, I mean, I don't have a Seek Track, so I don't know what the quality of the speaker is like.
It's
But,
terrible. It's awful.
well, there we go. Right. So the same is like on the Move, for example, where
It's worse than the Move.
It's worse than the Move. Okay, so that's
it's
kind of
about on par with the PO33s, which I don't know if I don't think you've used a PO33, but that's not.
I have, yeah. That's pretty terrible.
It's not the nicest compliment, but.
Well, I suppose that's where I'm coming from. I hear you and I get it, and I get where you're coming from in that regard. I just wonder if it's that terrible, why bother? Why not just stick a pair of headphones in?
Well, because I don't like in-ear headphones. They bother my ears. I just don't like them. And I don't always have these with me in the house. They're in the studio. So when I can't get into the studio and I am in the house and, you know, there's enough space where no one's going to hear what I'm doing and stuff, it's just helpful to have that. Or if I'm just quickly just using a sequencer, I don't want to turn on everything, put the speakers, do that, go USB. Like, it's just nice to have it.
I almost never use a speaker in anything. I hate them.
They're awful. They make me want to stop making music.
Even the MPC Live 2, and they're beefy speakers, unlike any other. I still don't use them.
I just like having the convenience of it. Like having that option to be able to do it, it just makes
I kind of like the fact it's there, but I don't really use it. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like making a song and being like, that's it, export, release, using that speaker. And you miss out on a ton of stuff.
I like to run mixes.
Yeah, well, that's what Cresshead was just putting too, is also another thing to test with.
Yeah.
But it's just nice when it's there. Like, you never know. Like, if I only have the Seek Track in the house and I can't get into the studio or whatever, then I can still do something. My headphones are in the studio, all that. So it's like, well, I can still make music. I don't have to plug in another cable or have something coming, connected to it. It's just,
That's fair.
I'll even use the one on the PO33. Like, again, it just, if I'm doing quick ideation or just like messing about, it's like, yeah, who cares?
I get that. I'd like to hear what the chat have to say in that regard, and people listening back. Maybe that will be the poll for this week's kind of Spotify. Whether or not
you can, I'm not on the YouTube. I'm on Restream, our thing, but you can also post a poll in the YouTube chat right now if you want.
You can. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You keep talking.
You have that power.
You have that power.
We have that power, but you're the one on the YouTube. I'm on the Restream right now. I'll read a couple bits more of chat. It's all Cresshead right now. But let us know, everybody in the chat, do you ever use the speakers on the gear that has it? Eon Lake does not, even with, so the MPCs is pretty good, huh?
Yeah, they do sound pretty beefy, but I just
There's some low end to it,
yes,
because that's the problem with like C-Crack, PO33,
you'd
all
like
that.
to
Like
think
there's
so though, because it's like a whole box. It's a bit like a mini sound bar that sits at the bottom of the device.
that's right. Yeah, and
Or
yeah.
works, but
It looks like it would be decent. Yeah.
it's
Um,
pretty
uh,
beefy.
even the Korgs, they have a speaker. Those little Volcas.
They do.
That's why I was shocked when like the S1 and the P6 don't. I know it would probably add to cost and stuff, and I get it, but I don't know. I also just kind of like, you can resample that, and it sounds interesting when you take that really terrible speaker, put a mic to it. Sometimes that's a really cool way to just get a really unique sample sound, and with bass that you're adding and all that to the rest of the layers and things, it can be just a cool little sound design reamping little thing. I've done that before too. So it's not just for my curiosity of like, well, what does this sound like? Or I don't have time. But Cresshead says, C-Track speaker is not great. KO2 is better. That doesn't surprise me. But that is good to hear the KO2 speaker, at least you think is better. Eon, like you also have one, but maybe you've not used it since you're not big. Have you tried it?
It's okay. No,
I don't like that face.
To make sure it's working. It doesn't sound great to me, but
okay. Better than, well, have you used the C-Track?
Yeah.
Better than the C-Tracks?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Mike also says Move speaker is not, in all caps, awful.
It's not
awful.
Correct.
So, I don't know if that's a great selling point. They could put that on the.
It's a great slogan, right?
Portable speaker, not awful. All right.
Ableton, contact Mike if you want to use that as a tagline. By all means, I'm sure he'll sell it cheap.
Fizz also adds, I personally never use built-in speakers on my samplers. Would prefer they add a tiny pitch bend wheel or something else. That's cool too.
I mean, it's a space consideration, right?
Yeah, but Crest said also adds, and this is true, I would much rather take what they put, a built-in microphone, than terrible little speakers. I do like the speakers though, but yeah, having a built-in mic is massive for a sampler. Like you definitely want that. The SP Mark II not having one is a huge knock on it.
Even if it's really bad.
What's that?
Even if it's really bad. And
well, that adds a certain charm to it, doesn't it?
Sometimes
like the PO33.
Really
Gotta love the sound of that, you know? What else do we got? Lars is in the chat. One of our patrons also says, the speaker on my Casio Porta sound is fire.
All right.
There we go. Fizz says, I love built-in mics. You get different results. Bad mics are not always bad. Yeah, or they're bad, but stylistically good, right?
Yeah.
You know, like that's what I mean. Like PO33.
Sometimes they're bad enough.
Yeah. And Lars also says, like it sounds like it might catch fire at some point. and yeah, I know, Cresta. That's what I've been saying. The PO33, both a mic, which it gives a certain color to it, and a speaker for $100. I love that little PO33. So many limitations, but fun to use. Yeah. All right. Well, that's a good tangent on speakers and samplers. Boy, we are getting real into the nerdy stuff today. We went on the differences between reverbs and reverb types. Now speakers on samplers. I mean, if that's not niche, I don't know what is.
Wasn't there a bit of kit we were talking about?
Yeah, we were talking about kit. Yeah. Let's get back to that. Curtis, please. I know you stopped sharing the screen so we could go on this long rambling.
Like a musician's old folks home or something.
That's okay. That's okay. That's what this is. Let's play a little bit of this. The idea that I've selected this little bit here just so we can see just kind of how easy it is to sample and then play along. So you've got what seems to be this cup here. You've got a lovely gentleman in gloves here, and you've got the sampler itself. And the idea, I'll just play it and you can kind of see where it's at.
And then we can start recording. Okay, it's done. Of course, we can train and edit the sample. Hold the Insert button and spin the left and right knobs to adjust the start points and the end points of the sample sound.
We'll stop it there for copyrights. That kind of illustrates where we're coming from here. But the idea is you can see, the idea is you can use the onboard microphone, put something straight in there, and without a shadow of a doubt, straight away you put it into the keyboard and you can kind of go through, which is kind of what they're going for. I think they're going for kind of a performative, instantaneous kind of, almost like a Mark Rabelais kind of instant kind of gratification, instant turnaround.
Bit like Chompy, maybe.
Yeah, it does really remind me of Chompy
An
a bit.
adult
So Chompy's,
Chompy.
yeah. I mean, I have to look
But
into
half
this
the
one more,
price.
but
Something.
yeah.
Chompy's, they're close to they're close to 6, 7, right?
Something like that, yeah. That's too hot for me.
Yeah.
But this fella is a bit different. Nice to see gloves being worn there as well for safety.
Yeah, you got to be careful when you are making fire. You've got
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to really be
They're
careful.
fire retardant gloves because that was, something else.
Yeah.
Hope you're wearing safety goggles too and a lab coat. If you want to keep your production fun, you could do things like that.
Can.
But yeah, I don't know about trimming samples without a screen though. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Ear training. That's where I'm at.
It should not be a problem, should it? And yet, at the same time, I want my little waveform. I do. The move's got a waveform.
Are we relying on our eyes to make sounds though? At the same time,
Is there something wrong with that, Curtis?
no. I'm not saying there's anything necessarily wrong with it.
It is wrong. Accept it.
It is wrong.
Yeah, man. You should just be able to do it with your ears. I don't know. I just don't like it though.
Well, no, I get what you're coming from, because I would say, yes, we should be able to do it with our ears and stuff, but sometimes you need that granular nuance of zooming in, seeing the silence, trimming things around, moving things. It doesn't hurt, but I don't think that for what it seems to be doing, like in terms of its use and utility, like how you would use this, I don't know if you really need the screen per se. It seems more like, I mean, there's definitely ways I could see you could use it beyond what, and this is only that quick demo you showed, but from what it looks like it's built to be, looks more like it's for performance and taking samples and doing like chromatic play and looping and stuff, opposed to necessarily chopping like, the sampler workflow, chopping samples, going, I need to zoom in, make sure this is 0 point so I can make sure there's no click and this and that.
You're not going to be stretching it by creating loops in the middle of the sample and stuff like that. Really.
Now I could be wrong. Again, I haven't watched this full video or something. Curtis brought this one to the table, and Curtis, if there is more to it, you can enlighten me on that. But
I'm pitching the rest of the workflow, because this is looking very much like this is a workflow device, and that's why you're going to like it. And the chat seems to be wondering if that's the case as well. Really.
Sorry, Tina.
I was like, "Where's he going? What's he doing?"
I was just
have one under his desk or something.
I was just sitting here. I was just sitting here all nonchalant. I was just sitting here all nonchalant, and Tina just started like licking my toe. Never done that before in the 5 years that I've had her. Sorry, completely distracted me.
Tina is a cat for anyone uninitiated. I don't know if that helps or not. I'm not going to talk about it anymore either way.
Put me in a bad situation, but it definitely to kind of try and get it back on track and reclaim a section of my dignity. The notion of it is very much a workflow kind of notion of just kind of get it sampled, put it through. You're making a lead line. You're doing it on the fly. The everything I've read and everything I've kind of gone through. Kind of akins it to the RC505, where it's all, you're making loops as you go on the fly, and it's all about that instant repetition and that instant kind of way of working. Yeah,
definitely more like that performative looping sampler compared to, that's what I was saying earlier, like not the sample chopping, getting into the granular, zooming in, doing all that stuff, chopping up samples. It's more like take a sample and perform using it. Chromatic playback and things is what it seems like it's more meant for, which is cool. But it has to be what you're looking for workflow wise, I suppose.
Absolutely. Now, you in the name of just kind of creating a bit of solace around it, I know you got to go in a minute, Sunwarper. The question is, in a world where we've got the KO2 and we've got the Able to Move and we've got the SP404 and the SP404 Mod 2, etc., why have this? Why? What? Where does this fit? Where does this go? Does it fit? Is it just another box
I agree. That's probably the question, isn't it? It seems like the answer is supposed to be something to do with live looping and layering loops and not
You're right.
limitations of that. So if that's something that you do, personally, I hate it.
Well, yeah, like it's full of very
On it.
pointed opinions today, man.
I hate live looping. I hate songs that take 5 minutes to build up while we do it 4 bars at a time. I find it tedious, but some people really enjoy it.
I'll just take my entire Curtis catalog away from your Bandcamp.
Right now, it's there. I've got it. It's mine.
I'm glad we're all being honest right now.
It's fine. It's all good. Just hurts. It's okay.
I haven't done it enough, though. I do need to experiment with it myself.
I get
Okay.
that. Curtis, why don't really quickly, because I know I got to go. Let's quickly get to the community corner, and then you guys can come back to this if you want to continue and talk the chat, just because it is a momentous occasion. So I'd like to be here as we discuss our community corner.
It is. All right. Slight tangent, slight turn away. Yesterday marked our 5th anniversary. This is where we all cheer and everyone has a righteous moment. That's a righteous moment of indignation. It's great. Yeah, we made 5 years this day, and we couldn't have done this without our community. So thank you ever so much for those who have stuck with us from the very beginning. A survey channel popped up in the Discord yesterday when we acknowledged it. Survey channel, for example, was one of our very first interviews. It was him and Star Madman and
Spectre.
I remember listening.
Spectre, yeah.
Those were the 3, yeah.
Yeah.
And Eon made 2 or 3 appearances early on there.
Not as early as them, though.
No.
That was
You
like
weren't one of the
generation.
starters, yeah. But it was pretty early on in there.
It was cool. So yeah, we are here. We've been here for 5 years now. Hi, we're not going anywhere. It's lovely that you're here. And we really appreciate the fact that you kind of tune in, and each week you're in the chat, you're listening back, you're offering your feedback, you're in the Discord. It's amazing. So thank you ever so much. It continues to be a pleasure and a joy to do this week in and week out. And we couldn't do it without you. Really appreciate your existence as part of this little community. Sunwarper, any words?
Yeah, I just want to say a massive thanks to everyone. It's been crazy. I mean, last year we got to meet in person, which was fun, and do a live stream, do a proper podcast, which was awesome. You can go back and watch that one. I don't remember the number, but it would have been in June or July of 2024.
Yeah, it was about a year
July.
ago.
July of 2024. It was really cool. We met up in Switzerland, and we got to do like a whole episode, kind of look back at everything, how we started, how it's gone, and all that. So if you want to kind of get the story behind Audionautic, check out that. We'll try and put a link. I'll be gone the rest of the day, but later I'll put a link to that video in the description, and then in the Spotify and stuff. But I just want to say thanks to everybody, and a massive and special thanks to all of our patrons, because without them we couldn't be doing this. They help support the show and keep the lights on, so to speak, for the podcast. That's how we can do this restream. Eon Lake's going to have to do a pull-up to keep his head over. But yes, you can scan that QR code if you want to join the Patreon. We do have a discount. Curtis can tell you the discount in a second. But yeah, it means a ton to have you all along for the journey. And it's been really cool getting to talk all this sort of nerdy things, like the differences between reverb types and microphones and samplers and all that. So if you enjoy that sort of stuff and want to see more of it, talk more about it, well, first of all, you can go to our Discord. That is open for all, but we have exclusive channels and all of that. I'm seeing Lars's comment, which I'll share in a second, but that's a good one, Lars. But you can join our Discord. It's open for all. But if you do want to help support the show, do more of this, we have monthly hangouts and all that. You can join the Patreon. Now, before I go, I do have to share this. Lars did add, one of our patrons, Sunwarper and Curtis had to meet in neutral territory in Switzerland. Our egos needed the neutral territory, right?
Needed it. It was good fun. I mean, it's clean water there, which means it's a good place in which to be. And they got a lot of cats, which is also fun.
Is that your 2 metrics for judging a place? Water being clean. That's pretty important. But the cats too. If there's a lot of cats,
you got to have a good cat. You got to have a good cat. Life's not worth living if there's not a good cat involved, in my humble opinion.
I guess if you're a cat person.
Exactly. I mean, even if you're not a cat person, anyone who
I think if you're a dog person, maybe you prefer dogs.
If you're a dog person, you just don't know you're a cat person. That's what it is.
I don't know about that. I think you're lost in the delusion that is being a cat person, my friend. See, this is why we had to meet on neutral territory.
Could have got more.
Exactly. But yes, to mark the occasion of being 5 years together and part of this community, we have created a discount on our Patreon. So for the whole month until the 26th of September, so even if you're watching back in a few weeks, you can still get this until the 26th of September of 2025. If you type in a checkout 5 years, all caps, no spaces, you get 20% off of a patronage. And that runs at all levels. That runs from whether you're paying $2 or if you're going all the way up to $10. And so, yeah, it's just a little way of saying cheers, I suppose. That is for new patrons only. I'm afraid right now, it doesn't apply to existing patrons. That's just the way that Patreon works. We are racking our brains to find a way to express how we can express genuine love and appreciation for our existing patrons with the coffers that we've got, essentially. And we'll bring that to you in the next kind of week or so. But yeah, if you head across, it's in the description box that you can see there. Like I say, 5 years. Check out patreon.com/audionautic.
Yeah, so massive thanks. And if you do consider joining, awesome. We'd love to see you over there. With that, I unfortunately have to go. So I will see you all next week. But the show must go on. So I hand the reins over to Curtis, and I will see you all next time.
See you later.
See you, dude.
And has he muted? And he's gone. And then there were two.
It's very English now.
It's very English for
the English section.
If we just drop our voices somewhat, just slow down a little bit, and maybe yawn, ready for the next part of the show. Anyway, yes. Do you have anything more to say to the patrons or anything before we move on?
No, just love and respect to everybody who has followed us, either Patreon or otherwise. It is the purpose of everything, isn't it? This is supposed to be community. It's supposed to be discourse, and it's not. We're not broadcasting, and we are in a way, but the idea is to solicit, a larger discussion and to have a community. So without people, where would you be? Nowhere.
Exactly. We're just three chaps with microphones, and God only knows that there are a lot of chaps in this world with microphones, and what we have to say is largely insignificant, but it's what it springboards to a community discussion, community help, and community assistance that really matters. The fact that I can log on to see the Discord and see people talking in amongst themselves and what they're up to and helping each other out with different ideas is magical. When I was starting out making beats and making electronic music, didn't have a clue, and didn't have anyone to help me in that regard. So the idea that there is it's not just our community, but there are many communities, but our community is part of that nonetheless, that there is a safe space for people to go and get some help and give advice and give ideas to each other. It's magical, if you ask me.
And it is just that, because it's a real multi-skilled community. We've got people who have got a lot of experience in certain areas, and they don't always overlap, and that's why you do build a community, isn't it?
Absolutely. And just on that note as well, chaps, how English is this going to get, y'all?
Yeah, I didn't want to alarm anyone with that. Just a throwaway comment, really.
It is. It's got some. I've got my tea here and some biscuits, so I will get there. So once again, patreon.com/audionautic for 20% off for the whole month until the 26th of September. Getting ever closer. Keeps the lights on here, keeps us going. Starstream, by the way, our community discussion, our community hangout is happening this Sunday, and I'll say that again, this Sunday, the 31st of August.
Yeah.
It's happening from 6 6 p.m. UTC, 11 a.m. Pacific. If you're there, be lovely to see. Love to see where everyone's at. I missed the last one because I was in Asia, so it'd be good to kind of see where everyone else is at. Yeah, you going to be there, Rayon Lake? Pressure.
I think so. Yes, I hate missing them. I really do. So yeah, I do think I will be there. I should be at home.
Sounds like a plan. So we'll get there. So Sunday at 6 p.m. UTC. And yeah, new sample packs coming. I know I've said that a few times in the last week or so, but I have just finished one off and I'll put it up by the weekend, I think. So yeah. Yeah. Let's move on, shall we? We have got 15-ish minutes until the end of the show. Do you have anything more to say on the Wunderkammer, or do you want me to move on to the round robin?
Well, yeah, actually, I want to say I really like the name. It's a great name. Yeah, because I mean, it means room of wonders, but it actually really means like cabinet of curiosities. You remember those things that people used to collect? Lots of things in one. Yeah. So I think it's a great name. I think I just need to know more about it. Really, just need to understand a little bit more about what it's for. But it's definitely interesting. I know that a lot of people are aiming for this market segment where it's I don't know, it's a converged instrument. It's something you can have with you that generates enough ideas and has enough flexibility that you don't need anything else. It's just that one thing. If you're bored somewhere, you can just, start doing something, and and it's more performative and fun and lighthearted. And I like all those sentiments. I just don't know if there is a room in any of my workflows for it, if I need anything else, because I'm trying very hard to tell myself now that I don't need anything else. I need to master things that I have, on a deep level, so that when I'm in the studio, it's more like an instrument because I know everything so well and it's all just an extension of me, and even more so when it's just a couple of things,
I get that. Maybe it's a case of also, at this point you have an established workflow and you've got kind of a way of working things. Maybe the workflow itself is one that can shift and can change and can metabolize in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's good when you want to shake things up, introduce something new. That's great. But I think, new gear, although it's often very desirable from a workflow point of view, it's it usually slows you down initially until you've gotten over that bump and you've managed to identify all the ways of doing things that you needed to learn. So yeah, I don't know, it's a bit of a toss-up really, but I like the fact it's not too expensive.
Yeah, it always helps. Again, barrier to entry in this world where gear can keep people out from making beats away from the computer. It's good to see something that comes through.
Cane, I did cane looping earlier, and there are certain forms of looping that irritate the hell out of me. It is something that I've meant to do a bit on the SP404, just for the sake of the way that allows you to layer ideas quickly. I would keep it like that, and I would record all those ideas separately, as per usual. I wouldn't keep it as a live looped structure, but it might. The idea is that you can just play something, it carries on, you play something else, and you're really quick to your idea if you work that way. And I've been meaning to try that a lot, but haven't really got around to it. It's not really a workflow I use.
And that's okay. That's absolutely okay. It could be. And there also gets to a point where, you kind of have your tricks and you have your bolts and you have your way of working, and you want to maintain that flow state, which, as you said, if you're working with new devices or new workflows, that can become a barrier to that. So that's very fair in its own right. I got that. Cresshead says the KO2 is my go-to device, though the seat track is okay, but it's much slower to use. So, makes sense. The instantaneousness of the gear in which we use is definitely a factor in workflow in that regard. You wouldn't want to get bogged down with menu diving, for example, and you want to know your gear.
The KO2, I find they're both a little bit, multiple button pushes or menus, but there seems less of it at the KO2, or I find it more natural to navigate them than on the Seek track. Seek track's a little bit more. There's a lot of hotkeys that you might want to remember. There are a couple of them that I keep forgetting, and it irritates me every time I do. I have to go look them up again.
Isn't the Seek track really? I mean, I could be wrong here. So, Cresshead, and maybe you can correct me. The Seek track is built as it is, but it also comes with a counterpart app, which is kind of built for in that own regard. Am I right there?
Yeah, it's a bit like the old Teenage Engineering. What was it? The teeny tiny one they don't make anymore. Mental block. But yeah, it does have a companion app.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay.
It gives you a lot more possibilities for editing stuff and knowing what you're changing.
Which always helps. So we'll have to see. So yeah, it looks like a little thing. It is a Kickstarter, and so we'll have to see. We haven't. There's not much in terms of like. There's what it can do and what it's built for, and we can therefore compare it to other samplers and other sampling devices. The notions and the hard kind of the hard stats of what's actually inside the box. Less knowledgeable about that one, so we'll have to see how it pans out. But it's always good to see something grassroots come from the bottom and see and challenge the notions of what
idea coming through Kickstarter. Definitely, yeah,
exactly. Right. On that note, let's head across to the round robin for this week. As before we head towards the end of the show, do you want to tell the world what the round robin is all about, Ian Lake? No. Okay. Never mind. We'll just carry on, shall we?
Have it up at the moment, actually.
It's okay. The round robin itself is our community discussion. We take something ethereal, or we take something from the production world, and we just kind of share ideas of what tricks and tips might be. It's the idea of garnering and nurturing a collective idea of what production is and getting ideas from everyone. Particularly this week, bearing in mind that we've got Mike Smith coming on to the show in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I think now. We've got Mike K. Smith coming onto the show. We're going to be talking all about... it's just blanked. Talking all about generative kind of music, randomness, probability. But we'll also be talking about generative music within music making. The idea,
producer album and book.
Yes, which is a really important thing. It's very much looking forward to getting that involved. I wanted to have a look at the role of accidents within creative expression. Some of the happiest moments that we have in production and in the studio are when something happens accidentally. A mistake comes through, be it a hit of the key or a wrong strum of the guitar, and actually comes out better. A glitch in that sense, and then that comes in line with what we've been discussing with things like the beginner mind in the last couple of weeks, where as we go along our creative journey, we can tend to become a bit more controlling, and we can tend to become a bit more kind of formulaic with kind of the work that we do. And so I kind of wanted to bring it to the table and find out from yourself, Ian Lake, and the community, so feel free to speak up, everybody, how we allow for space to happen within the creative flow, and how we allow and let in happy accidents into our music.
So, on that note, I'd like to start with an apology. Since I now understand the question that you asked me to tell everyone what the round robin is. I thought what you meant was this week's one.
Okay.
And I'd gone completely blank. But yeah, of course I know what a round robin is normally. Total moment.
Okay. Who's been there?
Yeah, now this I think is a bit of a difficult question because I'm sure that the chat will start filling up with stories of happy accidents and so on. And I've said in the past, some of my best stuff has been accidental. Mm-hmm. So I suppose one of the best ways to try. I mean, it's more about allowing for things to happen, right? Which means whatever it is you're doing mustn't be too regimental. There's got to be a certain amount of playfulness involved, and that means, I suppose, not rushing to take an idea and get it down and just do something else and move on too quickly, but to sort of, turn it around and see what you can do with it. I mean, I think most of the happy accidents, if I think about what they are, most of them it's just two parts that just seem to work really well together in a way not expected. Sometimes one of them I've pulled out of archives to go with something that I'm already working on because I couldn't think of anything. So I'm just finding something in a similar key or a parallel key and trying it in the same arrangement to see what happens. Sometimes that's enough to get going, and it's good. But sometimes it is two ideas that I thought of at the time, and I'm just messing around with them and seeing how much I can do with those ideas before committing to some sort of structure or something in a song, So I suppose there's got to be some time to play around and experiment a little bit and line things up against each other. Now, how you can do that best probably depends on you. And, to tie it into what we were talking about earlier with live looping, that might be the quickest way for you to back ideas, or you might be more like me, you might need to have them already recorded, or maybe you're pulling them from different places. Maybe you use a random process to pull bits out of archives. So I like to save things that I don't use by BPM and keys so that they can hopefully get used at some point later on. So, you might have a process for doing that as well. But I don't know. I suppose there needs to be some time allowed for accidents to happen. You're not racing towards a goal too quickly.
I hear that. And how does that... So again, okay, so if we're not racing towards a goal too quickly, how do we tie that in with a common observation of the community of that the notions of time and having time to sit and work on our art can be limited?
And that's I think what introduces the challenge, because given enough time, you'll goof around enough and things just happen, right? They do. But if you don't have a lot of time, then that's a bit more problematic. I suppose, an amount of randomness and could be introduced where anything from selecting a random patch on a synth or, Groovebox, whatever, and deciding that you're going to use it no matter what, could be it. Or you might just hit random on a patch to create a random patch on a synth or something like that. Some of them have got this I love a random button on a plugin. That's, you can't, if it is truly random, I've had some good results from things like that as well. Cross patching things with, anything that's semi-modular or modular or software modular, that can give you some strange results. And I don't know that much about it that I can't still do something really weird and get an odd result. Maybe you want to start rolling dice or something. Thinking about that book, The Dice Man. Maybe you want to start introducing probability that way, like choosing what you're going to use. You could give a number to all your bits of kit and, just pick one at random. I don't know. I think it's a question that doesn't have like a static answer. I think it's like a question to ask regularly,
Like a check-in.
Yeah, what can I do differently just to let, the odd accident happen, kind of shake things up a little bit so that that's more likely to happen.
And in the name of that, because I completely agree with you, it makes a lot of sense. Do you regularly check in with yourself when it comes to your creative process and creating random happy accidents?
No, I don't. And I probably should, to be fair. I think for the longest time, I've been having a head up backside phase that I'm going through where I'm just analyzing everything too much and not being playful enough and not just... I need to stop making value judgments about things I'm only just creating, as they come into being, already saying, is this good enough? Should I be doing this? Should I be binning it off doing something else? It's just, it doesn't work. I know it doesn't work. I know it's bad practice. But I don't know. It seems to be doing it a lot recently. You need to generate stuff. You need to let it happen and figure it out later, ideally on another day, I noticed before before we went live that Mike was saying something in the Discord about opening the door to this sort of thing.
Yeah, I can find the quote. It's in the Patreon chat, right?
It was, yeah.
Yeah. Chance favors the prepared mind.
Exactly. So, I've been on the prepared bit, like how you might prepare and sort of allow this thing to come in. But what else was it you said?
It was a workshop. It was at a workshop of Sakura Tsuruta, I believe. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. Was an Ableton certified trainer who talks about separating sound design / MIDI clip and loop creation, getting ideas out, building a sound palette from track creation. If the track creation then pulls from that sound palette, you don't have to switch tasks between. So essentially,
create. I mean, we talked about this before about creating like sound design and writing sessions. We like to do that anyway because it's a different kind of skill set. Sometimes you can trick your silly monkey brain into not realizing it's writing something, and a song comes out. We know this, so I think that's another way of doing it by sort of not doing it. You're just making sounds because you're doing sound design, right? You're not actually writing something and then something accidentally comes out of that. I think there's another way in there. And that is the way that I've had happy accidents as well, where it's just like, well, I'm not writing anything. I'm actually exploring my kit and trying to make it make different sounds so that when I do write, I've got a bit more variety in voices and timbre and things like that. And that's when you get something different. And it might cause you to patch something differently. Like the day I decided to start running my drums from the Digitact through the Lyra 8 and its echo and distortion circuit. And oh my God, the racket it made. And I loved it immediately. It's just anything that makes you think about things in a different way and try something different. I find the easiest way to do that is just chaining plugins and just sticking random things on there, just messing around, trying to find your way into a different sort of type of sound.
I think that's fair. I think that's a very good way of looking at it. And I think the theme of the things that you're suggesting, and from the comments, which we'll get to in just a second, is being aware and being conscious, and it's a decision, it's a choice, much like emotions in that sense. It's something that you have to practice just as much as practicing an instrument. You have to practice letting go, and you have to practice mindfulness when you're in the studio at the same time.
Yeah, and if you think about what we were talking about a couple of weeks back with Rick Rubin's book about being childlike and open to ideas in that way, having an open and curious sort of approach to what you're doing, that's probably the best mindset to be in if you want to sort of make use of luck, chance, happy accidents. You got to be trying things, I suppose, if you want that stuff to happen.
Absolutely. I think what is where are we? Cresshead says it here. Cresshead says, I have a one-take rule for live mixdowns on songs from Seek Track and the KO2. It adds some jeopardy and keeps you going no matter what. It's brave and amazing and fantastic.
Brilliant, because that lack of risk does make everything a little bit more staid, really, doesn't it? A little less exciting.
Yeah, if you know that you can just go back and undo something, where's the tenacity and, where's the difference, right? But the idea of having a bounce down of a track and you've got to do it in one take, it creates a bit of on edge, creates a bit of sweat, creates that dopamine hit, and anything that happens will happen. It is very much a picture and a snapshot of that present moment, which I don't think you can get more authentic than that.
Yeah.
It's cool. Again, the Cresshead says, some of my patterns when you record them might not start on the riff of beat 1, bar 1, and that adds a new dimension to a song you put together. So that's similar, I suppose, to the notions of like polyrhythms and loops that overlap each other at different points. You can have some lovely serendipity through that. That's amazing.
Yeah, especially if you're not being deliberate about what beat it's starting on. You're just making sure it's in time.
Yeah, completely. And it is. It's it's a deliberacy in the non-deliberate in that sense, because you're being very assertive with the parameters by which you are creating, and then you're being okay with whatever comes out. Which similarly to where we've been. Many of us have been at a good point in our lives or in our production, letting go and allowing the music speak for itself as it is without having a preconceived idea of it being something other than it is. Yeah. I think that makes sense. Is a challenge for a lot of us.
Yeah, it's difficult to stop trying to force. It's difficult to avoid trying to force it down certain avenues. As soon as something starts to take shape, you start to then guide it. You've already kind of decided where it's going, and you're guiding. Think, well, hang on a minute, maybe let it play around with it more. Yeah, before there's no rush to make a decision.
Yeah. I think we are. I mean, I've definitely had it within myself. I can't speak for anyone other than me, obviously. But there have been times where I have rushed songs or rushed releases with the idea of making a release happen or a deadline happen, and not potentially going the full hog when it comes to really making sure that I'm done. There's always like you got to stop at some point, and a track is only ever done when you say it's done, and all that stuff, But also, I've gone back through some of my older stuff and gone, maybe I could have fleshed that out a little bit more and stuff. And maybe I was just rushing to, I had the business hat on for too long, when perhaps I should have probably had the artistic hat on for a little bit longer in that sense.
Yeah, although I think it's perfectly valid, isn't it? If you feel that there's a reason to revisit something and do it differently, just because you want to, or just because you feel that it has the potential to be something else, why not? Why not? It could be a good reason for, it's not really like remixing, but just alternate versions. I like alternate versions of stuff where, artists of mine have done it over the years. Artists of mine, people I enjoy listening to. I can think of a few artists that would, churn out new versions of songs all the time, often as part of performing live, and tracks evolving that way. And I like that.
Yeah, I think that's
great. Arguing about which one's best.
That's a good place to be. Again, Cresshead coming out with the wisdom this evening. Bottom line is, don't have fun. Don't make it an unpaid job. Which stems into it. If you've got random exploration play involved in that, with trying out new things and new ideas, then you're always going to have a good time, and you're going to have something that comes through in that sense. When it becomes serious, when it becomes heavy, now I'm going to write an album, or now I'm going to make this message with my music, or now I'm going to incorporate this sound. It becomes very, very restricted in that sense, which is not where art needs to be in order to grow.
No, and I like to think that you'll get maybe a more playful result or a lighter result than something that is ground out painfully over a series of months of punishing rework. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you want that sound, maybe that is the way to achieve it. Just work it to death. But I can't help but feel that things will have more life to them if they're made under those conditions.
Completely. And we are talking about art here. We're not talking necessarily about commodities or a product of music, such as like having a client or working on a commission or something like that. We're talking about art first and foremost. Sure, if you need to bang out a 3-minute lo-fi track for some sort of documentary, then go and bang it out and you know exactly what you need to do. But within the artistic space where you are, I think, what did Pat Brady say? Where are we? It's here somewhere. Hang on. Something about being using the muse, or the muse using you as a conduit as opposed to the other way around.
Well, that's a very good point. I think that there is a big unconscious element to it and to what I do. I don't know if that's the whole picture though, so I try and give the unconscious a look in and let it stew on things overnight. I often fall asleep with earbuds in, listening to a rough mix of something in the hope that, you know, it'll stir something in my head for the next time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, some of it might be relatively conscious in the sense it only comes out when you're playing, you know.
And you do,
give it all a chance. Allow for it all.
You got to give it a try, and I think it's you got to be kind to yourself in that regard as well. Like things don't always go to plan, and that's okay, you know. And things don't always go the way you want them to. You can sit down, try and have a session, and nothing sounds right, nothing works right, nothing turns on properly, the MIDI doesn't function. We've all been there, you know, and that's okay. That's totally fine, and you can't let that. Because that can carry on, right? So that can lead into your next session. You can go, didn't have a good session last time, so I've got to have a good session this time. No, you don't.
Yeah, and I'm like I said, I'm feeling that a lot at the moment. Is it worthwhile? Is it? Just stop, just do it, enjoy it as much as you can, then move on with your life. Don't analyze too much.
As we move into our new week. How or what intentions can you put in place in order to remove that sense of overthinking?
I think for me, writing is something that happens when it wants to happen, and I think sitting down to write is a misnomer because it doesn't really work. So what I will do is I will sit down to do something that isn't writing, i.e. experimenting with something, and what happens. It's almost like getting out of the way sometimes, where you mustn't interfere with the process. You just open the door, you allow for it to happen, and then get out of the way. So I'm going to try and do that a bit. I've got a few things planned where I've got things to try, as opposed to, I must write a lead line for this track or whatever. It's just like, no, I've got ideas for things to try. And if something comes of it, then great, you know. And if it doesn't, you know, I might make a list of sound elements that are missing from tracks that I want to finish, but treat them in isolation and do a bit of a sound design session on my own about like what that sound might be and what it might do, without sitting down with the song loaded up and going, right, now, do it. Write something amazing.
I get that.
For once.
All your stuff sounds amazing. I think we can attest to that. I hear you, and it makes sense. You know, it's the pressure that we put on ourselves to be creative is something. Now, for a long time, I kind of dismissed the idea of probability, of randomization, generative, purely from the space of, well, I'm not making it, therefore it's not me, and I'm relying on other things in order to make it happen.
But here,
oh yeah, totally. Then I realized that, you know, firstly, for example, if you're making something generative, you have to build the framework in order for it to happen in the first place, for example. But secondly, also, if you're using randomization, it can give you a spark of creativity that you might not necessarily have before. It's not realistic, right? For you to be creative all the time in the same way,
especially on your own.
Oh yeah, completely. In the same way that it's not, for example, if you're in a relationship with someone, it's not realistic that you're always going to be head over heels in love. Love takes work, right? Relationships take work, right? The relationship you have with your musical creativity is exactly the same. You need to nurture it. You need to come to it. And sometimes you need to be led as opposed to lead. And having some sort of randomization technique, a sample or a kick drum or an ARP or a generative parameter or something can just lead to a flash of inspiration, which would lead you down a road that you wouldn't necessarily be led down before. And there's nothing wrong with incorporating tools. Now, the extent to which that is a thing in terms of, for example, like sample packs, MIDI packs, etc., is another conversation. But having it is not a bad shout in the first place, I suppose, is what I'm getting to. And before you say anything, hey, Thomas, lovely to see you. There is no late. A wizard is never late. A wizard arrives exactly when they mean to. But yes, continue. Sorry, Ian.
Yeah, Chris was saying, it's like having a new band member, and it can be very much, yeah. I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. If you're setting up the conditions and you're running it and you're curating the output, or even just using the output as inspiration to play against and then getting rid of it, I don't, it's not cheating. It's just another way of, turning things around. I think if somebody tried to solve a Rubik's Cube and look at all the sides before making a plan of what movements to make to solve it, do you know what I mean? It's just another way of taking music and looking at it in a different angle and getting a different idea, and it might play a note that you might not have thought of. Sometimes I have this thing where I'm working in a key and I'm avoiding a certain note in the key, almost like I haven't quite got the right key. Like I'm right. I might be in, say, A minor, and I want to actually be using a melodic minor. My mind is doing that, so I'm kind of avoiding a certain note. And then if you use randomness and probability or something, and it might start playing the note that you've been avoiding, and it kind of changes the feel of it and pushes you back into one key versus another. I don't know. Funny things can happen. It's worth messing around with, just in the sense that it can give you direction just by showing you where the boundaries are.
That's a really good point. Like the notion of not making a misstep, because that becomes judgmental, but the the moving into a space that's unknown and then deciding that not necessarily a good step can give you a step that works for you can then point you in the direction of another step which may be more beneficial for you.
Exactly. Yeah,
I get that. Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying exactly, and that makes absolute sense. It's every step is a good step, right? This, we talk about step by step, and we talk about taking things step by step, and we constantly think about that as maintaining presence in the moment and being in a good space and just dealing with the here and now. But we also have to remember just to keep stepping, or just keep swimming, as Dory would say. Just keep swimming, because when it comes to art, there are no mistakes. There are just happy accidents in that sense.
Indeed.
I want to try to just check out here what Chris Head says. My songs on the MPC are more detailed. Songs on the Seek track and KO2 and the SP404 are more demo/live feeling. I'm curious, Chris Head, as to whether the differences span genre, tonality, all of the above. I'd be really curious to see the differences between things that have been made on the MPC and the other devices. Obviously, yes, you say there's a live feeling. Is there anything else involved in terms of like its tone? Yeah, its tonality and its style. Let me know. Or let us know. Anything more on that? Is there anything that we have not unturned at this point in time?
No, I just thought when I read it as an idea of things to talk about, I thought, well, I can't think of many ways to sort of do that, or to try and support it or reinforce it or introduce it or try and make it happen. Do you know what I mean? But yet somehow I still managed to waffle on for quite a while about it. So I was wrong, clearly.
Really? But that's what these conversations are about, right? Like they are.
Yeah.
I mean, we do plan for these shows, but obviously, it's a communication in the present moment with like-minded people. And I think I don't know about you, but I feel like what we can take away from this is even if you don't necessarily need to have something tangible. You don't need to have a methodology. You don't need to have a distinctive plan. You just need to have a willingness and an openness to asking yourself, what can I do differently?
Yeah, and not just falling into habit, I suppose, really. It's about being aware of what you're doing and what's going on in your head enough to remain open-minded rather than just going, right, well, I've written some drums, now I write some bass, and I do it for 16 bars. Do you know what I mean? Being aware of when you're, getting a bit dogmatic about things and when you're not just goofing around enough.
Yeah, completely. I think Thomas Stillhead says it really well. Basically, the only real mistake you can make is not trying.
Yeah, and allowing these things to make you feel negative or disinclined, to put some time in and just not be too damn judgmental.
Yeah, I think maybe judgmentalness and our inner judgment is something we can talk about in a future round robin if people are interested, because that is a big one. Turning the playful and the creative space into a judgmental space is something personally for me which happens very, very quickly, especially in the last kind of 6-7 years.
It's about when you start moving into editing. If your brain starts trying to jump ahead into editing, then you're already beginning to make value judgments about stuff, but you're still trying to be creative. You can't create and edit at the same time. You cannot. If you find yourself doing it, you're going to be in trouble. It won't work very well.
You are, which is interesting because, again, two Ableton users in the room here. Ableton Live kind of pushes you or kind of nudges you in the direction of live mixing or live producing. In that sense, it's all very quick and kind of on the fly.
Yeah, but you could argue that. I mean, they sort of argue that you can just create clips and jam your clips and everything, and when you know how you want it to go, you can just jam it into the session, and then you've got your part there. Yeah, you could do that, or you could say, well, why am I messing around with all these clips like this when I'm going to have to arrange them in the arrangement anyway? Why don't I just actually write it in there, and then we can chop it up and chuck it into clips for playing it live?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's a flow, but it doesn't have to flow the way you say it does. It could flow the other way instead if you want.
True. One of my kids today in class is a cool kid. He said we did the class. We did the introduction, and I know I broke them off into go and make their stuff for the day. Went up to him, and he was using arrangement view for the first time. We're at the beginning of the course. We've started in session view, and he was like, "Oh, I watched the tutorial," and turns out that studio session view is for noobs. And I was just like, "Cool."
That's not in the manual.
I didn't see that on the website.
This is called Noob View.
Yeah, exactly.
This is called Pro View.
I thought it was funny after three classes. But yeah, either way. But I suppose what I'm trying to echo is what you're saying about the flexibility and being flexible within, whether it is with the instrumentation or within the DAW, where you are in control. These are tools, and you can do whatever you want in order to make these things happen. And the various ways by which these softwares or these hardwares work don't necessarily need to curtail your creative influence. You, at the end of the day, are the captain of the ship, right? So if you want to push in a certain direction, be that, for example, using arrangement view before lesson 5, then go for it.
Do it.
Break
those rules.
Exactly. To follow up from my question to Cresshead, more tracks, more things. This is in relation to the differences between the sound between the MPC and the SP404, and then the seat track, etc. More tracks, more things going off, and more effects on the MPC, but it lacks the live punching effects I get from the seat track and the KO2, but they are the same songs. And then follows up with similar songs all round, though I add real guitar and bass on the MPC.
So why not jam into the MPC and bring them together?
Exactly. As he says, as they say, all roads lead to Rome. Rome being a finished song.
Indeed.
Which maybe what so.
Totally agree.
Completely. Be curious to hear what you guys think. If you are watching back on Spotify or on YouTube, or if you're on the Discord, if you're not watching live, we'd love to hear how you maintain a sense of randomness and a sense of serendipity, happy accidents, as Bob Ross would say. We'd love to know how you achieve that, whether that's something that's on your radar. Either put it in the comments below, or let us know in the ADSN channel of our Discord channel, which the link is in the description. But Eon Lake will transition us to the last piece of the show, and I'll put it in the comments section as we go.
The last piece of the show, I believe.
You can just tell me what you're up to.
Talk about what we're doing next week.
Nice. There we go.
Well, in the next week, like I said earlier, I've got a few things set up to try. Just because I've got two goals that I want to accomplish at the moment. I want to further my understanding of all my gear, get to know it deeper. I want to revisit some stuff that hasn't been used for a while. And I want to be doing sound design, not trying to write anything. Just for the next week or so, I'll have a look again then, see what I want to do next. But so I've already written a few things up on my whiteboard so I don't forget what I've got to do when I do music. And I'm just going to work through those. I think some of it is to do with just making a sound I like and then bouncing it out to either my tempera or a sampler so that I can start making sound beds out of certain tones and sounds to then sort of experiment with later. Some of it's meant for ambient, some of it isn't. But yeah, it's a way of pre-building some textures and trying to experiment with some new sounds so that when I do write again, I've got something different to use that will hopefully inspire.
I like the sound of that. That's cool. Like prepping all your quote unquote hard work so that when it comes to the creative moment, you can just go.
Yeah. And a little bit of gear homework as well. A slight bit of manual reading because sometimes you have to really. You can intuit how to use some equipment pretty quickly and plugins pretty quickly. And then there are some things that you only really learn if you do actually take the time to study and read the manual. So I'm doing a little bit of that alongside all of this, trying to read the odd manual here and there.
You seem almost shy to admit that, like it's a faux pas in our world.
Well, yeah, I'm a white male. That's a kind of thing we never do, right? But I do read manuals. Not a lot though, because it's I've got to be in the mood. To be fair,
otherwise it's proper homework.
Yeah, but I mean, I want to know how to use these things. I want to, there's things that I use, even if it's just software plugins. I want it to have a complete and full understanding of it. Especially once I know it well enough to actually use it in anger. Then I want to know how far can I go with this. So Serum 2 is an obvious example of that.
Yeah.
There's
a lot there with Serum 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about you?
Well, I am going to continue on my trip of working with the DJ stuff and Serato. I do have a mashup to do between. Have you heard of Soda Pop?
No? I'm not beyond.
There's a show on Netflix which I think is some form of dragon thing or anime thing. I don't know, but everyone in middle school loves it, and it's a big thing right now. And they've asked me to mash it up with Michael Jackson's Billie Jean. Okay. And so I've put them all in, and I've stem split everything, and now I'm just trying to make a little kind of like a little piece of this.
That's going to be interesting.
It is, yeah. I've never done it before. In the name of of trying new things, I've never tried to mash two songs together. I've stem split stuff and I've made remixes of stuff, but I've never I've never stem split two songs and tried to mash them together. And there's a lot there, because obviously using AI and, that creates artifacting and stuff. So, but as Thomas says, Ableton is a lovely machine made for happy accidents. So,
yeah, it does lend itself, definitely.
It does.
It's the ability to play things against each other a lot and just throw a quick idea in.
Exactly. So I'm going to be working on that. I want to kind of get that down. And obviously, me being me, I'm like, I'm doing it for the kids, so I'm like, it's got to be good. But I think that's the only bit of producing I'm going to do. I think I'm sticking with this. I've taken your discography of all the psytrance that you've sent me.
Quality psytrance, sadly, no longer available.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
For reference, about 6 months ago, Eon Lake gave me about 7 or 8 gigabytes of old school psytrance.
There's some good stuff on there though that you can't get anymore.
Beautiful stuff. So yeah, I'm going through that and I'm building DJ sets. So I think I'll continue on that trip for now. It's different, it's fun, and it's not. At the moment, it's not. What's the phrase? Teeming with expectation and hostility. It's just a bit of fun.
Quite immediate as well, right?
Yeah, put it in, bang it in, and mix some stuff together. Obviously the consumer in me wants to suddenly get a 4-track controller and or maybe even a couple of CDJs, but they're expensive, and I'm just not going to bother with that just now. But yes, so yeah, that's what I'm up to. So we'll see. That brings us to what are we on? We're at 34 minutes past the second hour, so we should probably drop for now. Thank you for those who are still with us after 1 hour and 31 minutes. Really appreciate your company. Could be anywhere in the world, and you chose to spend your time with us, so really appreciate it. On our 5-year anniversary as well. It's wonderful. One more time, if you do want to consider becoming a patron, because it is our 5-year anniversary, if you go to patreon.com/audionautic and sign up to be a patron, in the coupon code or the discount center, if you enter the word 5 years, all caps, no spaces, you can get yourself a nice 20% discount for your first month coming through. Would you like to say anything else, Ian, before I hit the end stream?
Nope. Thank you all. Thanks to everybody who's with us.
Yeah, it's lovely. We really appreciate your time, your energy, and getting involved in the chat. It means the world. We will be on Discord throughout the week. Patrons, this Sunday, 31st of August, is Starstream. We'll be there, 6 p.m. UTC, same time as ADSN on Wednesdays. We'll be there. And we'll go from there. So for now,